being with you because you cheated, that is your consequences. You knew what to set forth. Don't let someone gaslight you out of what you set as a emotional boundary, and then they have the audacity to try to turn it back around on you. Hello, I am Q Savage, and if you knew what it do, I hope you come part of the Q crew. It's free to subscribe. I'll let you decide. I hope you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. So, let's talk about boundaries. There's boundaries when it comes to friendships, when it comes to relationships, and when it comes to children, and family. So, I am going to do three segments of this. At first, I was going to put it all in one video, but no, I feel like they need to have separate videos, and we're starting with relationships. So, romantic relationships, that is. Something that I think people don't realize, when you have deal breakers, those are also boundaries. You're setting boundaries about what you are going to accept and not accept. One of the common ones is cheating. Um, and a lot of people will try to convince you otherwise about, oh, well, you should be able to accept me cheating because I'm a man, or you should accept me cheating because I'm I am bi. Just give an example. Some people do think that way and think, well, I should be able to have a woman and still be with a man, and you should be happy with that. And when someone says no to those type of standards or a way of living or being with you, they seem to get upset and think that you are thinking wrong. You are not supposed to be swayed or change those things that you have set forth on what you want. It seems like it is something that's common sense, but man, ladies, we're gonna have to talk because I have seen several women that do not have the proper boundaries, and the way the dating scene has been changing, trying to change. You can't change something that's not broken. It's just gonna be chaos, and that's what's happening. It's like you're going to run into a whole bunch of turmoil. Now, one reason why you are never to get comfortable in a relationship is because the person that you're with is going to continue to grow, learn, and be a different person as they grow. They're supposed to grow and be more mature, be not specifically a totally different person, but that's the importance of dating and staying connected. That there is a reason for all of these types of things. There's more depth into it. And a lot of people have went left on what those things mean. So back to boundaries. I have seen a lot of people where they will not set a boundary, or they'll set a boundary and don't keep their foot down on it. Like because the person got mad or the person got upset. So you're accepting bull crap behavior because you are not want to deal with that person at that given time. Now, when it comes to me, a lot of people get mad at me because my boundaries are strong, and they always get mad, and I always never cared. And that's what I need you guys to do. When you set a boundary, when you set something forth that you emotionally need to have happen, like for example, cheating. I just keep using cheating because I can't think of any other example right now. So when it comes to cheating, the reason why I cannot take cheating is because I'm not going to sit up here and have to worry and think about, are you actually being loyal, or like I can't trust you anymore. I'm not going to have you rent free in my mind worrying about it. I'll just let you go and have somebody that's going to be loyal and be respectful to me as I am being to them. Now, again, I've never had anyone cheat on me, but I'm just saying that it's a boundary that I have set. And just because someone actually does it, that is not a time for you to be like, well, because I have children, I am going to stay in the relationship. I know there is a way that when someone cheats, you can forgive and move forward. But if you emotionally, and it's not emotional immaturity, it's a boundary. If I cannot take emotionally being with you because you cheated, that is your consequences. You knew what to set forth. Don't let someone gaslight you out of what you set as a emotional boundary, and then they have the audacity to try to turn it back around on you and get mad like you're in the wrong. It's a huge gaslight. And a lot of people suffer from this, from not wanting to keep their foot down. They know that they are in the right, but then they get convinced out of it. And then they wonder why they are constantly on these type of roller coasters and running into these type of issues all the time, because basically this person has created an elephant in the room that's never to be resolved. Whether this is male or female, doesn't matter. This happens both ways. So you have to be very cognitive of how you set your boundaries and what you want in a relationship. The reason why they always speak about loving yourself, it also has to do with you knowing how to set healthy boundaries. If you do not have emotional intelligence, or you don't know how you emotionally tick or how you are, then you're not going to know how to protect yourself and protect the person that you care about, the person that you are. You won't allow someone else to corrupt and mess that up. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Well, if I'm not able to fully explain it, and I could pull some examples from people that I have coached before on this type of topic, but most of them that I've recently are fresh on my mind are from not relationships, they're from family and friends. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into some example videos about boundaries. So let's get into this one right here. Okay, I want to talk about this right quick. The famous YouTubers, Dearra and Ken, that has broken up some good amount of years ago. Dearra recently did a lawsuit, and I've never really watched this couple, but shout out to Team Room, Tea Room, and to Royal Teeth World that spoke on this about how this is another good example about setting boundaries and how people just squash and throw it away like it's nothing. Now, Ken has been known not to be very mature in certain areas, especially within the relationship. And I thought that after they've broken up, that he's grown, he's learned from the experience, and he has moved on and self-reflected and self-improved, and there was growth. But after his response on this whole um, lawsuit, when this is money that was due with severed ties within their business of their channel that is no longer up, he just completely just did not prioritize. And his response to it just sounded like someone that was just manipulative and hasn't grown or changed. And I understand, like, Dara's character was somewhat in question too when they broke up, but it still was no excuse for him not to pay his dues to what needed to be paid. And it's very disheartening to see, because I was just like, I knew of them, wish them the best, hoping that they'll be able to be that black couple to be able to go further in the YouTube space. I just love to see people shine, and they were like living their best lives, going and doing bigger things than just YouTube. And for it to go down with the cheating scandal and everything was like, oh well, people live, they learn, they grew out of love for each other because of, people grow apart. That's how I threw it off. But when I saw that Ken did not grow, he still was doing his same old things. It was like, wow, it was very obvious. And then the mother came in and wanted to defend him and saying that his character was looking bad. I'm like, he did all of this all on his own. No one, De'Ara never shamed and talked down him. It on the internet, it was all by other bloggers that found his own self being exposed for doing things that he had no business doing, something that they didn't agree on. So it's crazy how you could tell that there is some coddling that's happening within his parenting, the way that the mother exposed both of them. When they spoke on this whole situation, both of them exposed themselves and made themselves look bad. They put their character in question. And I'm not trying to disrespect the mother or anything of that sort. I'm just calling it like it is because it's obvious to. It's crazy how Everyone always wanted to bring up the relationship, bring up other things that had nothing to do with the lawsuit. She shouldn't have to pay his obligations for the taxes. She should not have to pay any obligations to money that he had no business taking out within the account that they were sharing. And they were broken up, and they already had previous agreements, even by court documents, because they couldn't settle things together. And he kept going left on trying not to pay for his obligation. He had a lawyer involved, and he signed to pay these things back. And even when he mentioned about the medical portion, yes, he was in a very serious medical concern condition where he could have been gone, and I understand that. That I'm so happy that he is fine and he's doing good. But someone that knows medical billing very well, there was no reason for him to go into that account and take that money. He could put all of that on payment plans and let them know his situation, and they could settle that by making monthly payments. Absolutely unacceptable how he handled that. So it's crazy how, if this is all true, allegedly, per the court documents, because I feel like if they had a lawyer and he signed off onto it, it is what it is, then he is due to pay it. Gave him the benefit of the doubt. He gave him grace, and over the years, he still failed to stay in communication and to pay the bill. Any debt collector would done the same. So it's crazy how, because she was DV in their previous relationship, he thought he could continue to treat her wrong. And that's not how it's gonna work. So I really can't wait to hear about what happens in the lawsuit. I hope that Ken has stuff to back himself up, showing that he has legit reasons why he wasn't able to pay, but it's gonna look bad on his end because he didn't stay in communication when he couldn't make the payments or try to rearrange something else. I was just wanted to mention that it was like really disheartening to hear everyone want to put down DV-Hotline, even though most people were on DV-Hotline's end about the situation with these allegations. But with all of it being said, like, she put up boundaries, she set things forth, she did everything in the right way regards to this business situation. She didn't put it out on the internet. Bloggers again exposed the information, and now here we are, and like, she's trying to take care of things and try to handle business the right way, and she's getting pushed back. It's But anywho, it's really OT, but it was just a good example about how people just try to push your boundaries and try to go by things right, and people still try to take advantage of you no matter what you do.
There has to be boundaries in relationships when it comes to communication and how we're going to resolve stuff. It just can't be a free for all. My wife, 25 years ago, because the first 5 years for us were hard. Boundary. You cannot talk to me in that tone. Boundary. I will no longer tolerate you shutting down on me for 3 days. Boundary. I will no longer tolerate you fighting me the way you're fighting me. Boundary. If it means that we have to separate, if it means that we got to call a timeout on this relationship so that we can establish healthy boundaries, so be it. Because if there are no boundaries, there can be no accountability. There has to be boundaries in relationships.
And that's something that a lot of men do that I have witnessed and have seen, where they don't want to show accountability. So that's why they won't set any boundaries or set schedule for certain things, like when it comes to even taking care of the children within the relationship. So that's something that you have to be very cognizant aware of. Even if you try to hold someone accountable, they're a grown adult. You cannot make a grown man, do what you want them to do. You cannot make a grown woman do what you want them to do. Okay? If you are someone that has a big ego and say, "Oh, yes, I can," well, that's not very healthy for you to manipulate and gaslight and sit up there and mess with someone's emotions in order to control them just because you know how to. That is not healthy. That's not going to work in the long run. It's just not something that is very moral or have very good integrity in, and you will get karma. It's gonna come. And don't be mad at the consequences when it does. It is very important, like he said, to have boundaries. You have a relationship in the beginning, and you have certain deal breakers or boundaries. Well, sometimes they may change, and you have a different perspective on life because you become more wiser. You've become more mature on certain things to where, I know you, I have more leniency here, but still, I want this to happen. Now, some people would think, some men, I don't know why, particularly why they do this, but they think that if you waver on some of your boundaries, they look at you as less than weak. And that is something that you shouldn't do, because sometimes, a lot of times, they're just adjusting just for the reasons that I said. they have changed their boundaries or their perspective. And when they explain that to you, how they feel about it, then why is that all of a sudden a problem? That's why you date. That's why you stay connected. That's why y'all communicate, because as you grow, as you get older, certain things may change. Now, when it comes to something like cheating, no, that's not going to change. That's not somebody grows out of. That just should be common sense. That's not something that someone grows out of. That's just a set boundary. And if they never spoke to you about it or changed their mind about it, then that is something that is on you if you've stepped over that boundary, and those are consequences for that. Remember, when you have set a boundary, make sure you follow through with the consequences, because it's going to happen again and it's going to get worse because that person feels like, well, if I got away with this and they set that boundary, then, oh, I can get away with anything else. Let's go ahead and get to the next one.
I was asked, how did I learn like the importance of setting healthy boundaries in a relationship and now my marriage? And here's the thing I need you to know. I have never claimed to be some relationship guru who just got it all together, right? I need you to know that before I tell you this story. We hear.
I don't feel like there's such thing as a relationship guru. You just have wisdom, you have knowledge, and you know, and you share in the story.
Okay, so long story short, I was not raised to be somebody's wife, to be a homemaker, to be soft, emotionally available, vulnerable, none of that stuff, right? And low-key, you know how them podcast dudes be like, if this person was raised like this, avoid this woman at all cost. I am her. Shocker, I got married and we have a healthy relationship. Y'all really be acting like people can't grow up, evolve, and mature. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, so that being said.
The issue is most people don't these days. They stay quite stagnant. But I digress. That's the whole point of the video, is to grow, learn, improve, self-development, self-improvement. That's the team.
I saw a lot of like toxic. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen a healthy marriage in my entire family. That's a bold statement to make, but it's very true. I saw all levels of abuse, rug abuse, like addiction, all like stealing, cheating, beating, having second families. It was real wild. And I said, you know what? I don't like that. I don't want to deal with that. So when I started dating, anytime I saw a red flag, I dipped out. Now some will say, if you did not.
Same. That's exactly what I did. I've been around all of those type of things as well. And as soon as I, like she said, saw any inklings of that, that's why my discernment is so strong. And I studied people's behavior for so long. In close proximity with my dad, for example, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to deal with that. I've seen that, done that. Like, my household was so chaotic and unhealthy. When I got my own place, it is going to be nothing like that. So that's why, like, my boundaries and certain things I just will not deal with. It won't put up with. And a lot of people will try to gaslight and reverse it and be like, well, then you, which I think she's about to get into, is like, oh, you're too strict or you'll never find somebody. It depends on how strict and how, like, if you're doing it within fear or something in particular. Like, no, been there, done that, so therefore I know better. That's it. That's all there is. I have enough know-it-all to know if I am doing too much. I self-reflect, So there is a wrong way and a right way to do things. I know what people are talking about, but not with the way that I have vetted and done things. So, and it worked for her.
Every time you see something you don't like, you're going to be a serial dater and never end up happy. I beg to differ. Because I only dipped out when they were actual legitimate red flags, not because you don't like the color I got on or something stupid. But anyway.
Exactly. She just said what I was going to say. I haven't seen this video all the way through. So, yeah, she said basically what I was talking about. It's actually legit red flags, like obvious ones that some people wouldn't pick up on. And it always came out to be true. I always was shown that I did the right thing. On the bullet was, I dodged a bullet every time.
Anyways, so like the first real kind of like dude I entertained, I was like 16 or 17. No, I was 16. And he would say, I love you all the time. And I would never say it back and he would get his feelings hurt. But I wasn't opening my legs. So he'd be like, if you love me, you would. And I'd be like, no, I don't love you, actually. I would never take a bullet for you. And that sounds harsh. And it's crazy that I used to measure love that way, still do to a certain extent. But all that said, I had to cut that off because I'm like, that's obviously toxic. And then the second dude that I kind of entertained, I was also like the second half of me being 16, I guess. And he got aggressive with me one day. Like he got real loud with me. And I was like, oh yeah, no, cut that off. On to the next. Because as soon as I saw any sort of display of you cannot regulate your emotions or you're manipulative and or aggressive, I can forgive you. We can be friends, but you're not going to have that access to me anymore. And I'm ending the relationship. So the moral of the story is I did not not allow men to be a certain way with me. Otherwise, I cut them off and go to the next. So is that a way to learn healthy boundaries? Not fully sure if that's the answer, but I can say in my first real relationship, it lasted for 3 years. We never had no knockout, drag out fights. There was none of that aggressiveness. He was really soft and kind. Like, we didn't even get into like any actual major argument until after we broke up. And same goes for my current marriage. Like, I will say, people are like, what do you mean you don't argue? Me and my husband do not argue. We have disagreements. And the reason why I say we don't argue is because of what you have normalized arguing to be today. Y'all be out here cussing each other out, calling each other all types of names, using every level of profanity. I don't even cuss, okay? But I'm just saying, like, we not doing that in this relationship. We have disagreements, and if we are too upset in that moment to verbalize how we feel in a rational, respectful manner, we are going to step aside, think about it, then come back together, because I ain't putting up with that. And neither does he. I don't know if that was helpful or not, but that's what I did.
Totally agree. So just like what we mean by equally yoked, he has that same type of sentiments, and so does she. So it makes it easier to be able to navigate and process things and have communication. When someone doesn't have that same morals and have that same integrity, it's harder for you because you're always going to clash, and it's going to be irritating, and it's going to be a constant annoyance. And that's something that is very unfortunate to have to keep on running into. So just like she said, if you're not able to emotionally do certain things, then that's not on me. That is on you, and that's something that you have to grow out of. A lot of people are not healed. A lot of people are projecting and think that they can move and do certain things that they were okay possibly in a previous relationship, or they were okay of doing in their own home when they were with their parents or kid. But as you become an adult and you get older, people are not going to tolerate that type of behavior and those certain type of things. And they always tell you, "Oh, you're just hard to get." Well, really, it's not that I'm hard to get; it's that you don't have the integrity anymore that I'm looking for, that maturity that I'm looking for, that I know that I'm able to coincide and exist with someone with. No hard feelings, right? I'm not your person. It's unacquired. But yes, that is something that is very true, because a lot of people will talk you out of having specific boundaries that you know dang well you're not going to tolerate. And that's also something that, not just like having discernment that she was just speaking of, is also having emotional intelligence about yourself. What you are willing to put up and put up with has a lot to do with how you're going to be treated. So if certain things you're not going to tolerate or put up with, and they're not being vocal or voiced and being honored and respected, then you need to go. But I do understand within a relationship, sometimes it can grow and develop into that, because both of y'all are learning and growing and maturing together. But if it never comes to that, if that person never gets to that point of compromising within the relationship, it's a done deal. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And it comes to a point where it, like I said, worth. It's not worth it. So therefore, know your self-worth to leave and let go.
Because that's what I've done. Once my worth is in question, I let go.
And I think that's pretty much what I want to say. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to give you this last video and close it out here. Remember, you guys, you are beautifully, wonderfully made. Only you can make that change. I'll see you guys on the next video. Tuesday.
Don't tire yourself out trying to get someone to understand your heart when you've already provided so much evidence of it. Consistently, you've been kind, you've been supportive, you've been compromising, you've been giving and loyal and loving and respectful. You've not only offered, but clearly shown the beautiful person that you are, day after day, time after time. If someone is still acting confused about your intentions, your boundaries, your needs or desires after living in this way, then it's likely they're playing the confusion card. And don't be fooled, this play is not what it seems. The confusion card is one that acts like I am confused with the true intent of confusing you. Because as long as I act confused, it requires you to step up into the impossible job of clarifying the obvious. And as long as you're working towards that goal, you'll fail to see how I'm really treating you. Bottom line, your kindness, support, loyalty, compromise, respect, and love have very clearly spoken for themselves. Period. If they're confused by all of that goodness, then I'm confused as to why you'd want to stick around. Especially since you're not the one that has anything to prove. Boundary up. I hope this helps.